So I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that we're all joining from today. I myself, while my office is based in Dja Dja Wurrung country in the Bendigo in central Victoria, I am in my home on Tanarong country, just on the outskirts of Bendigo. And I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging for the care and ongoing custodianship of our beautiful country water and communities. So the agenda for today, we do have two organisations for Community Showcase. So Judy Kirk from Holbrook Landcare is with us. Thanks so much, Judy. And Peter Clifton from Southwest NRM. Pardon me. We will have an evaluation update from our wonderful partners at the Nous Group, as well as an update from ARLF and ourselves from FRRR. So, and then we'll move into a Q&A at the end of the session. So with no further ado, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to the wonderful project coordinator for the Murray region, head up by Holbrook Landcare. So Judy, I'll pass over to you. Thanks, Alicia.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Judy Kirk and I am the New South Wales Murray Region 2 Community Impact Program Coordinator at Holbrook Landcare Network, who is the lead organisation in our region. Holbrook Landcare's vision is an economically and socially resilient rural community demonstrating strong environmental stewardship. Our mission, we exist to achieve positive and enduring changes in agricultural production, environmental sustainability, and social capacity in the region. Our goal is to be a dynamic, member-driven, nationally recognised, financially stable organisation that creates opportunities to improve natural resources and sustainable agricultural outcomes in the medium to high rainfall mixed farming zones of southern New South Wales. In 2023, Holbrook Landcare Network collaborated with a number of organisations in the Murray region on the FRRR Community Impact Program proposal, which successfully secured funding for community projects and events across the region throughout 2025. Our collaborating organisations include Western Murray Land Improvement Group, Murrumbidgee Landcare, Yakwa Indigenous Knowledge Centre, Southern Growers, Yanko Creek and Tributaries Advisory Council, short for YACTAC, Rice Growers Association of Australia, Riverine Plains, Cora District Landcare, and West Hume Landcare. The projects and activities that are going to be hosted and have already been hosted in the Murray region include, for Holbrook Landcare Network, the Holbrook Long Lunch for Community Resilience. That'll be hosted in 2025. There'll be the Holbrook Drought Preparedness Community Planning Workshop, which we hosted in 2023. For Cora District Landcare, they have their Cora Community Nursery Project, which is ongoing till 2025. And they have already hosted their Cora Cultural Awareness Training last year as well. For the Rice Growers Association and Yakwa Indigenous Knowledge Centre, they are hosting a Connecting to Community and Connecting to Country through establishing a community of practice in Deniliquin. That'll happen this year. And the YACTAC, Yanko Creek and Tributaries Advisory Council, they have already hosted their Chicks in the Sticks event at Drildery and will be hosting another one at Mullamine later this year. Rice Growers are constructing a barbecue trailer for the Finley community this year. West Hume Landcare have had one of their workshops, which was their cultural sites event last year, and they will be hosting their Walla and Walbundry Weeds Warrior project in the next couple of years. Riverine Plains, excuse me, Riverine Plains are hosting their innovation expos. They've hosted one last year and another one this year. And the Hay Landcare and Murrumbidgee Landcare are hosting a Nara cultural burn workshop this year. And the Western Murray Land Improvement Group are hosting an inland delta connection to community with tours of significant sites in the Western Murray region in 2014 this year. Some of the challenges for coordination is that there's quite a few different groups delivering projects across the Murray region. It's a large geographical area covering 7 local government areas, 8 including Albury for one of the Changemaker workshops. And so that's an area that spreads over 20,000 square kilometres across the Murray region and covers many small communities, rural communities as well. So what I've been doing as far as to help with that connectivity is using opportunities for updates and connections through regional community practice meetings, regional updates via emails to community impact program group contacts, promotion of the community impact program and Murray regional activities at other events, regional catch-ups with groups, individual via online meetings and phone calls, coordinating online meetings with the CIP groups and the NOUS group for project evaluation, co-design and information sharing. Coordinated the first 2-day Changemaker workshop at Finley, and that was mainly the community impact program groups, staff and volunteers, so that they could come together face to face to connect and share stories. Coordinated online meeting with the community impact program groups, FRRR and the Australian Rural Leaders Foundation to share their activity progress and connect with information sharing, and coordinating casual catch-up meetings with Fiona and the groups for information sharing. So looking at some of the short-term outcomes, looking at outcome one, which is provide communication, social connection, collaboration within and between communities to support drought preparedness. So some of the things I've been doing to cover those points is coordinating catch-up meetings with the groups individually for improved communication, coordinating regional meetings with community groups to support collaboration and social connection, assisting Murray Community Impact Program groups with project planning, events evaluation, and support groups with their delivery of their projects and activities. And I've also developed a poster and a banner to increase awareness and promote the Murray CIP groups, events and activities across the region. The other short-term outcome, number 7, which is growth and improvement, strength of community-based networks. I've been providing updates to groups on FRRR program and promoting upcoming Murray events and the Changemaker workshops. Working with the CIP groups and the Australian Rural Leaders Foundation to organise and assist 5 Changemaker workshops in the Murray region. Promote these activities through the Whole Book Landcare network, including social media, the website and newsletter. Also connecting with Region 31 Goulburn Coordinator Kate Coffey from Riverine Plains to communicate challenges and work on evaluation surveys and collaboration across promotion of activities to improve cross-region networking. Coordinated with an online meeting with the NOUS and the Murray CIP group, and just to assist with the reporting and evaluation requirements. So the next one is the long-term outcomes. So the first one is stronger connectedness and greater social capital, networking relationships within communities contributing to wellbeing and security. So with those outcomes, I'm working towards highlighting the outcomes of the Murray Region Community Impact Program groups, events and activities with case study reports, and showing strong connectedness and networking within those communities. Connecting with the other CIP regional coordinators to network and share ideas to support community and group delivery events and activities. The other long-term outcome, community implement transformative activities to improve their resilience to drought. Working towards showcasing the transformative CIP activities that have helped communities become better connected and resilient in drought in our Murray region through the development of a regional video, and also working towards producing a podcast with the Australian Rural Leaders Foundation on the Murray Changemaker workshops as a follow-up for community members completing the workshop and to assist with their change-making leadership goals and to help build resilience in the community. So I guess just as a highlight would be the Changemaker workshops. We've had 2 so far. It was really fantastic to support so many passionate people to come together and share their knowledge of local communities and to strengthen connections and networks across the region. The workshop focused on fostering self-awareness, community engagement, resilience, leadership skills, and the ability to drive positive change while considering diverse perspectives and community well-being. The groups explored ideas about what shaped our local community and region and discussed some of the important issues facing the Murray region, such as industry, community, local economy, water, communications, impact of climate, and the effects of adverse events such as drought. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Judy. Just a little bit of feedback for you too. While I was at Finley, I was lucky enough to head to Finley as well, and other groups in that session told me how wonderful it has been working alongside you, and we greatly appreciate the stewardship that you're delivering the program into your region with. It's just wonderful to see you guys coming together and working so beautifully together. So thank you. And I will actually throw over to you now, Ali.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm going to introduce Peter Clifton. Peter is a Program Manager for Sustainable Agriculture and Ramsar Wetlands, and his organisation is a CPLO, and it is called the Southwest NRM. So Southwest NRM are, like I said, the CPLO, but they also have a project of their own as a delivery partner. The organisation's based in Bunbury. It's about an hour and a half south of Perth on the coast, but the organisation does reach into inland agriculturally dependent communities, which he'll talk further about. Very dry conditions at the moment in southwest of WA, and he must have had that foresight because his project is titled Surviving the Dry. So it was very applicable for the year that eventuated. So thanks, Peter, over to you.
Thanks, Alicia. Hour and a half south of Perth. You must drive a lot faster than me. Yep, I'm just back from leave, so hopefully this all goes to plan. But so if anyone wants to find out what the weather's like in Bali at the moment, just I'll talk to you later, because I'm probably a bit more up to speed on that at the moment. But yeah, we cover the southwest. It's interesting, the southwest, when you talk about the southwest of WA, some people talk about Geraldton to Esperance. We're a smaller southwest region, so the hatched area is where our project is covering. As an organisation, we cover the whole purple area, which sort of extends further to the east. And like probably some others here, we're mainly interested in sustainable agriculture and environmental conservation, and it's really just about, providing solutions for healthy and productive ecosystems. Yeah, look, our approach has been to hold monthly meetings, which has been going well. We've got there are 4 other partners with us. So we've, like Alicia said, we've got a project ourselves, and then there's 2 Landcare groups have also got projects, 1 Aboriginal organisation and 1 arts organisation. So we get together every month and just online, and just to provide a bit of connection and encouragement. Not everybody joins each time. One of them's basically 1 day a week, I think, or 2 days a week. So he struggles to get online. But the 2 or 3 that do come along, include plus myself, it really does help actually to talk about the projects and yeah, just provide a bit of encouragement to keep getting the work done. And I follow up with phone calls and emails for those that didn't attend. And we have a shared communications plan. So I guess one of the main things as a CPLO was to, I guess, have consistency of messaging with our project, because one of the challenges that we have had is just a lack of drought literacy in the southwest of WA. It's generally a high rainfall, 600 mil up to over 1,000 mil a year. So, and we normally get rain every year. Well, we do get rain every year. It's just that sometimes obviously we have a very dry summer. For those that don't know, Mediterranean climates, pretty much doesn't rain in summer every year. So we're used to that, though, and we've adapted to that over time. But when you talk about drought, people sort of think, well, you're talking about year-long, multiple year droughts that happen over east, which don't really happen here. Having said that, as Alicia said, it's been a very dry year. It all finished in September, which is about a month earlier than what it normally would, a month or 2. And so people are really experiencing some dry conditions now and struggling a lot. So it's probably not a bad time to be talking about drought, and drought is probably a bit easier to talk about than it was last year. Our short-term outcomes have really just been, we've developed a Surviving the Dry logo and template to put all of our communications out, just to try and I guess combat some of that lack of literacy, so that people are seeing the same thing throughout the community from all 4 or all 5 organisations, just to try and show that there's a link between all the projects. We've also got a web page where we've put all of the information. So any events that other groups are doing, we put them on our page. The page also explains briefly what each project is doing. And we share events and contacts and ideas. And I guess that's been the real benefit so far, is just being able to sort of get together, we try and limit it to half an hour actually per meeting. But, within that time, we you learn what events are coming up. People start to talk about the contacts that they're using, the ideas that they're having. And it's quite remarkable, actually, some of the contacts that we've already got from each other. And especially as a regional organisation where you probably don't have that those local contacts. And we've done a lot of advertising as well. For our particular project, we've done a lot of it. We've actually already done our advertising budget just to try and get the word out there. Long-term outcomes. So, I guess just bringing organisations from across the region together. And it's resulting in, stronger connections. I never would have spoken to Southern Forest Arts before. So, but it's actually interesting to see some of the projects that they have been doing, and it just gives you that better connection into the community. And I guess through my own project, talking to community resource centres throughout the region and understanding the issues that they're dealing with, which I never quite understood at the time. I mean, we're a natural resource management organisation. We're not so focused on social issues, but this project has certainly opened my eyes, and probably others here, about some of the issues that are happening in our community in terms of homelessness. And you hear a lot more about, the mental health issues and unfortunately the suicide issues that different small communities are working with. So it really does give you a lot better understanding and connectivity into those local communities. And we've also, collaborating it's interesting. We have association members, and so we try and collaborate with our local land care groups. It's not always successful. However, this project's probably been one of the more successful collaborations that we've had. And then also Aboriginal organisations. You know, we've got there's an organisation here in Bunbury that we're working with, and so it's really opened up engagement there as well. So I think the last one was observations and achievements. So yeah, it's just been the communication and knowledge of how to engage in local communities. So using a lot of the local newsletters and community notice boards, and understanding what communities want and need and the issues that they're dealing with. On the right is we do online webinars, and you can see Alicia there. In the middle are a couple of our partners, Fiona Sinclair and Kerry Collard, who haven't yet got on the ground. And then on the left is another project from our Southern Forest Land Care Community Group, who are doing, I think in that case, probably talking about permaculture.
Thank you so much. That was really good. It's really nice to hear as well that that your community networks are growing and strengthening in different areas, you know, different sectors. So that's it's really good. That's perfect. That's what we love to see and hear, that kind of stuff. So thank you so much for sharing. So there's a bit of common themes there with your monthly catch-ups as well. So there's a few regions that are finding that that's been quite productive for their communities. So that's, you know, really nice to have that reiterated as well, that those collaborations are going on beyond the application stage throughout the life cycle of the program, which is the way that it was intended. So, so yeah, thank you so much again for sharing. Didn't really have any questions in the chat per se, but there were. Judy, thank you so much for putting in your contact details there for Brett. Brett is the community partner lead organisation here in the Loddon Campaspe region. He's based in the Bendigo region as well. So, Brett, if you want to have a chat with Judy, her contact details are there for you. So, does anybody? We do actually have a minute or two. Does anybody have any questions that they wanted to ask either Peter or Judy before I move on to Nous? I will hand over to the wonderful Carlos from Nous, who I'm sure most of you, if not all, have actually interacted with Carlos at one time or another. So, Carlos, over to you.
Thank you very much. We've been asked to just do a 10-minute presentation in terms of the updates on the evaluation and the approach we're taking. There's a particular thing we want to cover with you, which is some slight changes to the wording for the short-term outcomes that came through via the feedback you've provided from the working sessions. But we'll also cover some other aspects of the data collection and reporting that you'll do, just as a bit of a refresher, and that might spur some questions that you might have for us or FRRR. So if we move to the first slide, so just to remind you all, NOUS is evaluating the entire Helping Regional Communities Prepare for Drought initiative. So that includes not only the Community Impact Program, but the other elements that both FRRR and ARLF are delivering across this until June next year. And there's 5 key aims that we want to achieve through this evaluation, which are shared with you on the screen. So the first one is just capture compelling stories of impact. So that's your stories around the projects that you're delivering across Australia. We want to build an evidence base of what works as it relates to building and strengthening social resilience in rural, regional, and remote communities. A really important part of this evaluation is providing recommendations to refine and adapt the delivery of the initiative itself. And so that's based on your feedback as well as the feedback from other key stakeholders. The fourth one is around equipping community organisations with practical skills when it comes to evaluation. And we'll get to the evaluation working sessions in a moment, but that's one example of how we're trying to achieve that aim. And then the last one, in terms of a more macro aim of this evaluation, is to inform future drought policy in Australia, especially as it relates to the importance of social resilience. So they're the 5 aims that we're trying to achieve through this evaluation. If we move to the next slide, we also just wanted to highlight the benefits we're hoping to achieve for you and your organisations. And so through the delivery of this evaluation, we want to provide you with a chance to make your views heard And so there have been some surveys. We've been delivering some regional deep dives across Australia just over the last month or two, where we've been interviewing delivery partners and community partner lead organisations. And you'll also have a chance to provide that feedback through your reporting, project reporting. And so we want to hear those views and then share those views through the evaluation findings. And so another way we want to give back is by providing you access to those evaluation findings so that you can learn from what other organisations have been doing across Australia to inform future projects that you might deliver, and also potentially some funding opportunities that come up. And then the third one is the evaluation readiness and capability support that we've been providing so far. So that's another way that we aim to give back to you, your organisations, through the delivery of this evaluation. So if we move to the next slide. Just wanted to remind you all about the evaluation working sessions we have delivered so far. So we've done 26. So we've done working sessions with 26 regions across Australia. There's a few who we haven't been able to deliver them yet just due to local context, and we're aiming to try and get those in as soon as possible. As a reminder, we worked through the program theory cascade and then did an activity where we worked through the program logic and finished with a session around data collection, which we'll also touch on a little bit further in this presentation. Importantly, through these evaluation working sessions, we got lots of great feedback from you on the evaluation itself and the short-term outcomes. But before we move to the next slide, I just want to, if you happen to miss the session that we delivered in your region, please reach out to your CPLO, because we did share the materials that we used for each of those regions. And if your region hasn't had one yet, as a reminder, we're looking to try and get those scheduled ASAP. But if we move to the next slide, as I mentioned, we listened to the feedback you provided across all of those working sessions. We wanted to make sure we had completed as many as we could before this stage of the evaluation to make a decision around whether we needed to adapt some of the short-term outcomes. So where we landed is some small changes to 4 of the outcomes, and you can see the bolded words on the screen that reflect the changes that we've made. Now, these changes, as I mentioned before, are based on the feedback we received across all 26 working sessions, and aim to make the outcomes more inclusive of all the projects and activities that are being delivered across Australia, the more than, I think, 160 projects that are being delivered. Now, I want to highlight 2 key things. The first is these changes should not affect the outcomes you choose to report on. So as I mentioned, there's some additional wording in there that help to make those outcomes more inclusive, but they don't change what the outcomes are themselves. And so it should not change the outcomes you're planning to report on. And then secondly, if for some chance you have already reported on your project through the portal because you've delivered it and completed it and acquitted it, then you don't need to make any changes to that reporting. NAS will take all of that into consideration when we collate the information and report it back. So you should see changes to these outcomes in the portal in terms of your project reporting in good time. And as I mentioned, thank you again for your engagement across those working sessions and the feedback you provided, because it really did help us think through the outcomes that we presented and whether we needed to adjust them at all to make them more inclusive. Okay, if we move to the next slide. So as a reminder, we recommend that you report on up to 2 primary outcomes that your projects contribute to. And that's of the 7 outcomes on the screen here today. We took you through this in the working sessions, and in the materials we shared, we also mapped these outcomes with the objectives that you will have aligned your projects within the application process stage. So that material provides you guidance on how to report on what you might end up reporting on in terms of projects against these outcomes. I think an important thing to highlight once again is that the purpose of having these consistent short-term outcomes is to help us consistently report on the outcomes you achieve through your projects across all of Australia. And not only that, when we think through the other elements of the initiative, we can align the sorts of outcomes that those elements are achieving with these outcomes as well. So we get a consistent macro picture of the outcomes that the full investment in this initiative is achieving for communities across Australia. Okay, the last two slides get to the practicalities of what we've asked you to do in terms of collecting and reporting on your projects. So this slide starts to talk about how you can collect and report on your data. So it's really important that you collect the right data so that you can know what has worked and what to change as well in terms of improving the impact of your projects. A really important thing to highlight is that the amount of data you collect will vary based on the size of your project. We recognize that there are a range of different project sizes, from the quite small all the way to the quite large. So from $15,000, $20,000 all the way up to $200,000, depending on how the regions have decided to use the funding through the Community Impact Program. So really right-size the data collection that you undertake based on the size of your project, because we don't want to add to that reporting and data collection burden. And then what we really want you to do in terms of the reporting that NOUS has asked you to do is to focus on the change your project creates. So not just counting the things you deliver or the number of participants, but the changes you observe in the participants or in your communities. And we've just got some examples of ways you can collect data and ways you can report data. And just noting that there's a lot of options, and we want you to choose the option that best suits the project you're delivering and the resources and capacity you have within your organization. Just noting that we do have a consistent way to report against the outcomes that we'll ask you to use, which comes to the last slide we wanted to share, which starts to talk about the final report you'll submit to FRRR. So within that reporting, there's an additional outcomes report survey that we'll ask you to complete. Within those reports, what we'll ask you to do is report on the outputs across your entire project. So that's the things you've delivered. The nature of those activities. We also would like to understand the estimated number of people that have benefited from your project. And then there's a series of questions that we'll ask you, depending on which outcomes you've chosen your project contributes most to, those primary outcomes. We'll ask you some questions around how your project is contributing to various indicators that support that short-term outcome. And finally, there's also opportunity for you to report on any other changes in your community that you haven't had a chance to reflect through the questions that are included in that survey. And then lastly, we'll ask you to include some of the data or evidence that supports your claims. And so you'll be able to upload that data, and that can include surveys that you might have ran. It can also include photos, newspaper articles, or other relevant information that you think best demonstrate the outcomes that you're reporting. I whizzed through quite a lot of content there. And so Melissa and I are on the line. We'll stick around after the end of this webinar as well, if you have any direct questions you want to ask us. Otherwise, if you put them in the chat function for now, we will make sure we respond to it, because I know that we've got a tight time frame for this webinar. So I'll pass back to you, Fiona.
Thanks, Carlos. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for all that extra information. That was quite helpful. So in the essence of keeping to time, I will pass over to our wonderful partners in ARLF. I'm not sure whether it's Gemma or Leslie presenting to everyone today, but either of you ladies, over to you.
Thank you. It's me to start with. It's Leslie here, for anyone who doesn't know me. And Gemma's going to come after. So we thought NICE might have a good few slides, so we've only put in a couple here, so we won't keep you long. Just an update from me. Firstly, thank you to everyone here. It's been great to have your involvement, and Gemma particularly appreciates that, as do I. Progress today, it seems like more, but we've only actually run 9 change makers, and we've got about 60 or 70 to go. So we started in February, but they've all been amazing. They've all been totally different. Themes have been different, and the participants. So it's really a great learning tool for us, as well as hopefully for people in the regions. We've done one leadership action initiative at Urala, and that went very well as well. And one leadership development program, which is split into 2 pieces. So it's 2 by 2.5 days. That was February and March. We had a very engaged cohort of 20 people. But the great news is we've scheduled at least 90% of regions now. So that means everybody is getting locked into the calendar between now and June 25. Any questions? Myself or Gemma is linked there. And Gemma, next slide for you. Thanks, Alicia.
Yeah, hi everyone. And big thanks to Judy and Peter for that presentation. It's always great to hear updates from lead organisations, and we just, sometimes it's always a bit hard to get your presentation ready, so we really do appreciate your time and putting that together for us today. Just as Leslie mentioned, we've got the ball rolling on our change makers and other programs across the 35 regions in this initiative. And I just wanted to come and present a little one slide here on some of our progresses so far and some of our challenges. And as Leslie just mentioned, we've got the ball rolling. We've right into the change makers, and we've already gone through a couple of our other options, community leadership programs. So they've been really successful. Some of our challenges have been with change makers, and this is probably not a big challenge. It's actually the fact that we've actually got wait lists on some of our change makers. So we've had a large number of registrations in some of those regions where we actually thought we might struggle to get participants. So we like to have a minimum of 15 to run the program, a maximum of 30, and we have nearly 50 people in these some of these wait lists. So that has been just amazing for us. It means that these regions are really accepting of what we're coming in to do here and provide these workshops to you. So that unfortunately means that some people have missed out on the wait lists. But what we are finding happening is that on the day, and this is, things arise, emergencies happen, sickness, illness, kids, but on the day people aren't turning up. So it just means that the waitlist people aren't getting that chance to come into some of those changemaker workshops. So we will just, I will start asking some of our CPLOs for assistance here, that local trust on the ground with helping secure and making sure that those participants are, committed to those workshops. So that might just mean giving quick calls to some of the participants. So we're hoping that we can ask for your assistance just to secure the participants moving forward. And as Leslie said, we've got a number of change makers, 60 to 70 to go ahead this year. So we're just trying to streamline some of those processes. Participants are getting about 2 to 3 reminders for the change makers. However, we're still having those large number not turn up on the day. So any feedback from CPLOs is welcome. We take that on. So yes, that's it from me. And Leslie and I, as she mentioned, we've got here to answer any questions that you might have moving forward.
We are over 400 people now joined, which is fabulous. So we encourage you, if you haven't, it's a great place to share information and to network with others.
Thank you so much for everyone that's been, plugging along, doing everything you need to do to get your community impact programs underway, and in some instances actually done. Interim reporting or progress reporting is all available on your Grants Gateway portal now. So, and those reports are due at the end of June this year. If you have finished if you already delivered your project and you've finished, the final report is also there for you as well. So if you have done and you're ready to equip, jump in there and do it, because we'd love to start building some case studies and sharing some stories on some of the goals that communities are kicking, because there's quite a few. I've got half a dozen here that I'll give a shout out for in a minute. when you are developing all of your marketing material for your projects, please remember the acknowledgement guidelines that are available for you in your original success letter. I've also embedded the link to the fact sheet for this in this presentation, so that'll come out to you as well. So there is actually some wording there for you, and as well as all of the logos that go with the Helping Regional Communities Prepare for Drought Initiative program. So that's all there, nice and neat for you. That also does include when you're sharing the word on all of your socials, there are some media handles as well that are ARLF handles, they are Future Drought handles, they are FRRR handles. So we would encourage you to use those so that we can see those bits and pieces pop up, and we can all start to share the word on on everything that's being delivered, because you know, there really are some great projects that we're seeing come through communities. From a small network grants program perspective, round 2 has now closed. We are in the middle of, or in the early stages, I won't say the middle, we're in the early stages of assessment for that program, and the funding will be announced in June. We do actually have some check-in survey responses that come out to you from time to time. Thank you to those that have been able to do that now. We'll actually leave the portal open until close of business this afternoon, but we won't do the next one until September. Given you've got progress reporting in June, we won't be sending that out. You know, like Carla said before, the last thing we want to do is overburden you with too much reporting. And the biggest thing from there is really keep us updated. Like I said, you know, we're really keen to share the stories that everyone's really developing in your communities and in your regions. You know, in these forums, it's always makes my heart sing when I hear our CPLOs tell us, you know, the networks and strength of relationships that are being developed in regions. So you know, that's one of my passions, is to see that unfold. So I feel quite lucky to be part of that. Anyway, I will move through to the next slide of this series, just to remind everybody that the expertise pool is available. We do have around 100 pre-vetted consultants offering their service in that platform now. So we would encourage everyone to get in contact with the team at Social Impact Hub. Again, the link for that is inserted in this webinar. If you're not quite sure where it is, you can find it through the FRRR website, but it's also in here for you too. We do have quite a number of other specialists that are, you know, a wait list to go onto the platform. So that's been quite a popular tool. We would encourage everyone to jump on board. That's available now, whether you're as a part of the Future Drought Fund programming or not. It's available across all regional Australian communities. So, you know, just if you're talking to someone with one of your many hats on in your community, please share the word. It's there to be utilised, and we'd love to see that helping communities. There's also embedded in this presentation for you will be the latest expertise pool webinar that we hosted. Contact details for Jay at the Social Impact Hub are there for you too. So we would encourage everyone, again, this is an amazing platform that's come to life through this program. So we would encourage you to all go through and, you know, just keep using those tools. We're all here to see how we can build this platform and make things really rock in your communities, you know, or help you make your things rock even more than what you already are. So from a presentation perspective, I think that's really all the content that we had to deliver. So I would take the opportunity to open the floor to anyone that might have any questions. Thank you, Nina. Yes, there is also a link to the acknowledgement guidelines also contain links to both logos plus Canva templates for posters, social media and PowerPoint presentations as well. So Karen, if you want to have a look at that when this presentation comes through, that will help you with what we were talking about this morning.
Thank you.
That's okay. That's okay. If nobody's got any more questions, what I had originally planned on doing this morning before we really kicked into things was just really acknowledge and a few of the delivery partners that have delivered programs that kind of come to the top of my mind this morning when I was thinking about it. Meridian Arts in Wheatbelt in Western Australia, your Art Expo, that's, I believe that's either last weekend or this weekend coming up. As well as Yak Tak, Judy mentioned earlier, the Chicks in the Sticks session that was held in Jerilderie. I've had a look at all of the social media on that, and it's created a bit of a buzz by the look of it. So well done on delivering, that activity in your community. Gippsland Ag as well, Jen and Nat, congratulations on your Ag Centre. It was fantastic to see all that launch media come up over the last couple of weeks. So well done. I know that's been a massive passion project for you, Jen, so well done. Riff Plains, your Youth in Ag, I haven't seen any socials yet for your Grays function that you held on Friday night, but if I know you guys, it would have been brilliant. And Loxton Chamber as well. I'm really sorry I wasn't able to join you in Loxton while I was in South Australia a few weeks ago, but I hope that event went really well for you as well for your shared space. So if nobody's got any other questions, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Nina or anyone else on the FRRR team, did you guys want to say anything to anyone before we bid adieu?
Thanks, Pete. Great work, FRRR team, and lovely to connect with you. It's fantastic to hear about the great work of community partner lead organisations.
Thank you so much again for taking the time to join us. I hope you had some downtime with your loved ones over Easter, and look forward to reconnecting with you all again soon.